Welcome back to TD Garden. Meghan Ottolini of WEEI and Odyssey here with Jayson Turpin, also of WEEI and Odyssey. And we come to you following a Game 5 win. The Celtics are back in it. They remain alive, even though outside of the walls of this arena, things are very complicated, very uncertain. One thing is for certain, 127-102 win by the Celtics, led in my mind by Jaylen Brown, even though Derek White led with the points tonight, Justin.
And Luke Cornett as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was going to take a collective effort to fill what Jayson Tatum does. It wasn't going to be just one person, and I think a lot of people were expecting Jaylen Brown to do it, and he did, 100%. He put up a stat line that's only been rivaled by 3 other players in franchise history, John Havlicek, Larry Bird, and Rajon Rondo. So
good company.
Good company,
a lot
for
of
sure.
champions in that mix.
Right, and it kind of reminded me a little bit in Game 2, right? Like when Jayson Tatum was out and they needed Jaylen Brown to be at his best.
Talking about it in round 1.
Yes, in round 1, Game 2 against Orlando, he was at his best when they needed him to be, and he was again tonight. So Jaylen Brown's done a great job of filling the void when Jayson Tatum's been out this postseason, but it's also contributions from Derek White, who had 30 points, Luke Cornett, who had 9 points and 7 blocks, whatever it was. So it was just a collective effort. I mean, everyone that's played over 24 minutes scored in double digits, and that's what you want to see.
You're bringing up some great names from the past. The one that I kept thinking of all night tonight was Tommy Heinsohn, because this is the kind of game he would have loved.
Yes,
it was Tommy points everywhere, to quote our friends at NBC Sports Boston, especially in the third quarter, at that point when Jaylen Brown is diving for a loose ball right over here on the Knicks end, and he's at the feet of the assistant coaches. They're picking him up so he can go and shoot free throws on the other side, and that's the kind of game it was. The 3 started falling for these guys from the beginning. Derek White, as you said, opening it up the way that he did in other games in this series, but it was all the little moments that they were able to string together as a team.
Right.
It took that effort from everybody. I don't know if that's replicable to get out of this series and advance with Jayson Tatum and starting his, rehabilitation and healing process. But for tonight, it was emotional. It was an inspiring win for the champs.
For sure, and they wanted it more tonight. Like you said, Jaylen was diving into the stands. Luke Cornett was diving into the stands. Everyone was just doing their part, especially on the defensive end. They held them to 102 points. I think they only shot like 35%.
Oh my gosh, third quarter, 17 points from the Knicks. They only shot 20% at that point.
And the defense has been great all series, to be honest, with the exception of the second half of Game 4 when it was atrocious and actually cost them the game. But for the most part, the defense is doing a good job. They've held Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns to relatively inefficient shooting nights. Like, they've been good defensively, and they'll never say it explicitly, especially Joe Mazzulla, but defense is all about effort. That's really what it is. It's about effort and attention to detail.
Well, I think it's about situational awareness as well.
For sure, yeah.
And that came into play a lot, especially in the third quarter, because you get Karl-Anthony Towns first in a little bit of foul trouble. He picked up his 4th, and then all of a sudden Jalen Brunson gets into foul trouble. And some of that, of course, is effort defensively, but it's also being aware of all the components of the game. They got to the line 17 times between Derek White and Jaylen Brown in the second half. And that mattered a lot. Even though we would have liked to see more of those free throws go in, that mattered a lot in the context of the momentum of that game.
You mentioned Jalen Brunson. Have you ever seen a player get 5 fouls in one quarter?
No.
That was insane.
I mean, I probably have at some point, but I can't think of it top of my head. Whatever.
That was wild. The Tips just kept letting him go, and credit to the Celtics. They kept targeting him. They really went right after him and really racked up those fouls, and he ended up fouling out. I loved him waving at the Jumbotron after.
Yeah.
Like, that's just classic Jalen Brunson. But no, they did a great job. That's that situational awareness you just mentioned. They knew they were vulnerable in that end, and they kept attacking him.
So moving forward, 2 more games that this Celtics team is looking to take from the Knicks. It's been a very strange week. It's been a very sad week for the last couple of days since Game 4 at MSG, and I think even coming into this building tonight was odd.
Yeah.
Like, it was a strange atmosphere here. It was a 7 p.m. tip-off, which was pretty early, and my personal experience tonight was that traffic around the city was total hell. So it was tough to get into the building on time for tip-off, and there were a ton of Knicks fans here.
Yeah.
It was
There was
loud.
a Knicks in 5 chant before the game.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering what you think about where the momentum in this series is, if that's something you even believe in, and what the Celtics can take from tonight to get out of this series in advance, if that's possible.
Yeah, I think the number one thing the Celtics can take away from this is it's going to take everybody. Like, that's the reality. It was going to take everybody with Jayson Tatum. When you're in this kind of deficit, it's only been recovered, 13 times in NBA history? It's not something that teams usually climb out of, and it's going to take everyone to do so. And that's been their biggest strength all year long, is their depth. And when people think about that depth, right, they think of Tatum and Brown and White and Pritchard. You don't think about a guy like Luke Cornett, but he's in there, and that's what I mean. Like, when it's going to take everybody, and they have the horses to do it. So, yeah, I mean, that's what they learned from that, and I absolutely do believe in momentum, and like, they're inspired. This was an inspired basketball team tonight, and that's when you see those hustle plays that you mentioned, them dominating those margins, and they weren't earlier on, and they just switched, they flipped the switch and really turned things around. So they're inspired, and I think right now they have nothing to lose. Like, they're just playing freely. They were without Jayson Tatum. It's not necessarily that they're looking at this as an excuse, but it gives them a reason to play more freely. They have nothing. It's like, this is do or die. There's nothing to lose. There is no tomorrow if you don't win. So they just look a little bit more loose, I guess. And that's a dangerous thing if you're the Knicks. Like, all the pressure is now on New York. They're the team that has the lead. They're going against a team that just lost their star player. Everyone's writing the Celtics off, looking at the future. And you got a team like New York that's going to deal with it.
Yeah, I wrote this in my column for weei.com coming out of the game. Outside of the building, everything is really complicated right now. You've got your superstar hospitalized and a long road to recovery, hopefully a very smooth one, but a long road ahead of him. You have a sale that's impending. You have a roster that, if you were to maintain it going into next year, your championship roster would cost about almost half a billion dollars. And those are really difficult things to figure out. It kind of makes the basketball feel simple, right?
For sure.
We try to complicate, we try to analyze and break down all the analytics, all the stats, all the zones, all the different plays. And at the end of the day, like tonight, they made it look simple. It didn't necessarily look easy because it was very scrappy and very physical, but it just, like you said, they looked like they played free.
And that's a good thing. And you could see also, I give a lot of credit to their defense that allowed them to get out in transition, play fast. It's something they haven't really been able to do this postseason. And part of that, again, you always want Jayson Tatum on the floor, but part of that is Tatum not being out there. He's not one to really get out and run and play fast where Jalen is. And I think that really led to them having 27 assists. And that's a number I've been kind of monitoring this postseason. When they have 20-plus assists this postseason, they're 4-0. All of those wins have come by double digits. Like, when they're moving the ball, they're a better team. It's something that's been said about this team for a while now, and we saw it tonight. So, yeah, they're playing the freely, and everyone was kind of panicking about what's to come after Jayson Tatum went down.
All the big picture questions.
And that's understandable. Like, everyone knew that this team had an expiration date. Like, it wasn't going to be a team that's competing for a half a decade or a decade. Like, it was going to be 2 or 3 seasons at the maximum before they had to make moves. And obviously, when you lose your star player for what could be a calendar year, everything's kind of expedited there, and that expiration date is moved up. So I get why it came from, but there's still basketball to be played, and they're not out of the series just yet.
There is. There's a Game 6 on Friday. You'll be there at MSG. If there's a Game 7, we'll be back here at TD Garden. You can find all of our work at weei.com, at our YouTube channel here, and all the socials, Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for joining us.